Welcome to the Costa Property Podcast, the podcast that turns your dreams of owning a piece of paradise on the Costa del Sol into reality. I'm Warner Laurie, and I'm joined by my co-host and wives, Sandra Laurie.
Join us as we embark on navigating the ins and outs of real estate and relocation to this beautiful region.
We're not just about market trends, we're about sharing real-life experiences, because we know the struggle firsthand, and I've helped many people navigate this challenge also.
If you're dreaming of your perfect Costa del Sol home and want to get real, no-frills, expert advice, then you're absolutely in the right place. Join us each week as we share honest insights and information that will guide your journey.
You wouldn't hand over €500,000 to a stranger on the street now, would you? But on the Costa del Sol, that's exactly what some buyers are doing. Trusting people with no qualifications or protection or real estate experience. Today, we're exposing the culture of the unregulated real estate market here on the Costa del Sol and why we sometimes refer to it as the Wild Wild West. We'll walk you through what to watch out for, the red flags that you need to know, and real stories of buyers who have unfortunately got burnt. And wait until the end when you hear what Warner uncovered just last week. So, Warner is with me today. How are you, Warner?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And, as we alluded to already in the introduction, today we're going to be really diving into why the Costa del Sol property market is sometimes described as the Wild Wild West. And my thoughts on today's topic was really to sit down with you, taking into consideration your years of experience, 16 plus years of experience in real estate. You've also worked not only in the Costa del Sol real estate market, but also in Dubai and in the UK. So you're able to compare and contrast trends or differences or things that you've seen in this marketplace compared to others. And I want to dive into as well a little bit that reputation. In your opinion, Warner, why do you think that the Costa del Sol property market is often referred to as the Wild Wild West?
Good question, Sandra. I think mainly because the market is moving so fast at the moment. Properties are selling in days. There's a lot more buyers than sellers. But one of the big points would be it's an unregulated market. So anybody can be a real estate agent. My phone rings a lot during the day, but 10 of them could be a new real estate agent, different country. This one's a Polish agent, this one's a German agent. So when it's unregulated like that, it's very difficult to navigate the real estate market. All different nationalities, all different agents in one day.
Yeah.
So that can be quite challenging for me as a real estate agent.
But if we just dive into lack of regulation, so I guess for somebody listening that's maybe sitting in the UK, for example, that doesn't really understand what that means, let's elaborate a little bit on that. What does that actually mean, lack of regulation?
It means that anybody can go to their accountant, they come over, they want a new life, they've chosen the Costa del Sol. They can go to an accountant and sign up, and the next day they can be a real estate agent.
There's no license or legislation, like in Ireland, for example, where I'm from. If you want to be a real estate agent, you have to have an auctioneering license. So you can't just go and say, hey, today I fancy exploring a new career in real estate. I'm going to become a real estate agent. It's just not possible. And I know in Dubai, where you worked as a real estate agent before, that's not possible either. You have to have a license to practice as a real estate agent. But what I'm hearing from you here in Spain, it doesn't work like that. If you choose tomorrow to change your career, and actually that's great if people do want to change their career, it's fantastic, but it's very easy. The barriers to entry are quite easy for somebody to set up. That's from a professional perspective, but also I would assume then that lack of regulation creates different challenges sometimes as well. So, there isn't always best practices established, whereby there's a certain standards that you follow. And actually, this reminds me of last week when we were closing a transaction with Jacqueline. Jacqueline is a member of our team here at Costa Properties. She had a buyer over from the UK. They chose to buy a property in Torreblanca, which is closer to Fuengirola than Benalmádena. The agency, very professional, absolutely nothing wrong with the agency at all. But because they had different ways of working to us, It took us a couple of days to get our head around, okay, this is what they mean by that. I was scratching my head at certain parts of that transaction going, God, we need a glossary of terms. When we mean this, they mean X. When we mean Y, it just became a little bit complicated. And I guess my point is that lack of regulation, lack of best practice can also impact that situation that I'm just describing as well. Different agencies will have different ways. What I find, back to the lack of regulation part, is that often you'll find situations where everybody is a real estate agent.
Everybody has knowledge. You go and speak to the gardener. Oh, so-and-so is selling their property, or John down the pub is, I know somebody that's selling their property. Before you know it, you've got the property, but you've got 5 people declaring, I want something for that.
Yes.
And also sometimes challenging to navigate that.
And that's an interesting point. Often when everybody has a bit of skin in the game, everybody has an interest, and you're often getting conflicting information. And that is a situation that sometimes we have to navigate as well through lack of regulation. And also, this is an interesting point from the other perspective. Like, this reminds me of a conversation that you and I had this week, whereby we have a seller, and the seller invited you to value their property in May. The intention was that they were going to put the property on the market in August. So you've done the valuation, given your marketing proposal, explained how you're going to market the property, explained how we were follow up, because we're getting prepared to come into August now to list that property. We've had exactly that situation where the gardener in the development knows somebody interested in the property. We've learned from this situation that you're best to go, fantastic, very best of luck with that. But we see this all of the time, and 9 times out of 10, they end up phoning us back because they feel at the time that this would be great because they'll sell the property without commission. But unfortunately, the person that wants to buy the property, they probably want the property at bargain price. The seller then soon realises that they may not be actually getting the maximum value that their property is worth in this situation, or they'll have certain criterias that are a little bit unorthodox.
Yeah, well, we see it all the time. So we go to the listing appointment, we give the price, and then we get a phone call 2 days later. Oh yeah, my neighbour's brothers, sisters, auntie looking to buy a property here, and I'm going to deal with her. Thank you very much for your time and effort and everything else. And I'm like, okay. And then a week later, they're going, can you still list this property because it wasn't his neighbour and it wasn't his auntie? And
Yeah.
it just gets so confusing. But the problem that we have here is when people list the property in a block of apartments and the neighbour's son's interested or somebody else is interested, they're interested in the price that the neighbour bought it for, not the price of the market value.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So when they find out, yeah, I bought mine for 150,000 and you could get that, but the market value is 225,000. They're thinking a price between 175 and 200.
Yeah.
So in reality, you're losing 25,000.
Yeah.
And also, you don't know how to do the deposit contract. You don't know how the system works. If the person was Spanish and they was interested in buying, there's a lot of rules. And if you're a foreigner, it's really important that what's going to happen when you sell your property.
Mm-hmm.
If you go with somebody that's in the building and makes an offer, and we've seen it many times, the president goes, yep, I'll buy your property. And then the next thing they know, they speak to a couple of people, they call me, and I go out and do the market value. The people have undervalued it so much.
But let's flip it back to a buyer perspective as well. And we talked earlier about the lack of barriers to entry. So if you want to explore a career as a real estate agent, which is absolutely great, you can do it quite easily. What we're seeing more and more of, because we are predominantly a listing agent, although we work with designated buyers as well, we list a lot of properties each year, which means that we get a lot of footfall from other agencies that want to view our properties. The lack of regulation often means that you have very untenured agents entering into the market, particularly if there's a new buyer market emerging. So when the Polish market starts to become very popular, you see the emergence of lots of Polish. The demand for it, great. But the lack of regulation means they're often entering into the market with very little training, very little understanding of how a selling process actually works. Often we would end up taking that transaction over and got that agent of the buyer to make sure that the transaction ends up in a really good space. Otherwise it can go, excuse my French, tits up, and everybody ends up with a bad taste in their mouth and a poor experience. But everybody has to learn somewhere. And if somebody has an interest and they want to build their career, great. But I think it's important that people at the start work with an agency who has been established for a long period of time, has processes, has procedures, has their own contract agreements that are validated and vetted by their legal team. Because otherwise you're paddling upstream, and it does become the Wild West in that type of situation. What would you say about that point?
Yeah, so when we arrived here in 2016, it would have been crazy for me to just set up my own real estate agent. So
True.
I'd done the same. I went into a recognised company for about a year and looked at the processes, looked at how they worked. They were very successful, and just to learn the trade, because I didn't want to be going out straight away and just not knowing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you had experience from Dubai and the UK, so you weren't a total rookie. Spain does real estate differently to other countries, and that's natural. Every country does real estate differently. So you had to serve your time with an established agency, learn the ropes, and really get to grip to how things worked here. Otherwise, I think it would have taken you a lot longer to be able to get your teeth sank into how things worked here. Now, I don't want to sound all doom and gloom. I think Spain is trying to make massive improvements. There's a lot of great organisations out there that are trying to do things correctly, that are trying to establish best practices to make change. And you'll see a lot of agencies now are joining these reputable organisations in order for affiliation and to try to establish combined best practice, which I think is great. But this type of thing takes time, especially if a market or behaviours in the market have been used to behaving a certain way for a long period of time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's not just our real estate agents that's getting affected by that. It's all the real estate agents in the Costa del Sol. We do want to bring everybody together to make sure that there's rules and plans in place that we all follow, because I do think regulation will come. So we have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and that'll bring a different set of challenges and things as well. But more about that another day. I want to talk a little bit about red flags now, Warner. So if you're a buyer, and you are starting out with your buying journey, I want to maybe plant some seeds in a buyer's mindset in terms of these are potentially some red flags that you should look out for in this market to ensure that you're getting the best experience for you. Something that comes straight away to my mind, and this is something that I say all the time, and I think people are tired of me saying this, I would say that if somebody doesn't have referrals for their work, red flag from me. What do you say about that?
Absolutely. Somebody with experience and is dealing with a fast-moving market like the Costa del Sol selling properties, and they should have referrals or testimonials up to date, not 3 years ago or anything else. It's really important that you basically look at their website, how long have they been in business, and check the testimonials. And if you're still unsure, ask to speak to somebody that's sold it.
Yeah, 100%. We do that all the time because people deserve to have that level of transparency. For us, I would say Google My Business, look at our reviews there. Every time we close a transaction, the person receives a review link. Some people are comfortable leaving reviews, that's fine. Some people are not. We never force it, but we hope that if we've done enough of a good job and built a relationship with somebody, that they feel they would like to comment on our work. And also ask to speak to previous clients so that you can pick their brain, I guess, in an unbiased thing.
Yeah, if you've done a good job, the person is happy, it takes them 5 minutes to do a review. It shouldn't be a problem.
So referrals, absolutely, really important. Look, we are Benamadina specialists. Benamadina is our patch. It's our area of expertise when it comes to the neighbourhoods in Benamadina. There is no better team to guide you on what neighbourhood is right for you in Benamadina than us. Just call it a spade. Something that always sticks out to me as a red flag is if somebody says to you, yes, I operate from Nurka to Sotogrand, because I'm going, how could you possibly know? You're talking about 152 kilometres of stretch of land. I don't think that one person can be an expert on 150 kilometres of stretch. How are you going to know the nuances of the neighbourhoods, the intricacies of the area, what makes it different? We're Benamadina specialists. We operate from Torremolinos to La Cala. They're the areas that we service. And when it comes to areas that are further down the coast, Marbella and Depache, we refer on because we just don't have the expertise to guide us. And I'll give you a straight up example of this. We were contacted, they came to see us in the office Through our course, they followed our advice to pin down their top 3 locations. And they decided that 2 of the 3 were Casares and Sotogrande. We just don't have the expertise to guide them, okay? So we refer them on in that situation. But we hope that we've established enough of a footing with them through our online course, through listening to our podcast, that they should know the type of a service and experience that they should expect moving forward. So I would say that somebody's promising you everything, the sun, moon and stars, the expert of every area. I don't believe that's possible. That would be a red flag for me. What do you say?
It's impossible. Even if that person lived in Nerka, moved down to Calahonda, the agent, to have that experience in different areas, where to eat and everything, from Nerka to Sotogrande is just impossible.
That's why I think as well it's important for the agency that you choose that they have a proper process. So we have our onboarding process. Now, in that onboarding process, you might find that we mightn't be the best match for you, and that's okay. We will support you to your next step to match you with a referral, and then you take it from there. The other thing I would say is somebody that doesn't have good affiliations with an expert legal team, currency support advisors, mortgage companies, if they don't really have established collaborative network, I'd be a little bit concerned about that, because these are things that you're going to need, especially as a foreign buyer coming from another country. If it's your first rodeo in particular, you're going to need the support of your real estate agency's network to make sure that your process is very smooth.
Yeah, so you're putting your trust in your real estate agent, and when you're putting your trust in them, you expect them to refer a legal team, you expect them to hold your hand. Do you need a currency person? Do you need a mortgage? All of this is a service that you should be providing to your client. So if you have a real estate agent that only wants to sell you a property and doesn't have that structure, then I would be asking questions why.
If you've been dreaming about owning your perfect place here on the Costa del Sol, then we've got something really exciting in the works just for you. It's an exclusive in-person experience we're calling Vision to Villa, and it's your chance to get behind-the-scenes access to how buying here on the Costa del Sol really works, while spending time with us right here in the sunny southern Spain. We're only sharing the details with our email subscribers first. So if you want to be at the front of the queue, head over to www.wlcostaproperties.net and join our newsletter today. You'll be the first to hear all about it before we share it anywhere else.
Yeah, that's a great segue into my next question. What do professional agents do differently from your perspective?
Professional agents basically take you from step 1 all the way to the notary and the aftercare service.
Yeah.
So if the property needs painting, you have a painter. But if there's something needing done, you have a renovation team. It's a relationship. And then when you build a relationship, you gain trust and confidence that everything else, they are so happy. There's so many clients that say, you've been brilliant from start to finish.
Yeah.
Because it's no good being brilliant at the start and being terrible at the finish.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when the notary date is completed, technically the real estate agent is off the hook, but I don't agree with that. Often our clients at second home and they need support when they get here in the early stages, so we will refer different networks if it comes to removal companies or handyman. And often then they may not be here and they're worried about their property because a neighbour has said something. They often need somebody to go and check things. So that relationship doesn't stop there. And why it doesn't stop there is because they will refer us on. They will have friends, they will have family members, they will have people in their community that will have the same dream as them to buy a property at some point, and they'll refer us on. So It's about keeping the relationship going. That's one point. I think another thing that good professional agents do different, it's setting honest expectations with buyers.
Absolutely. For somebody sitting at home in the UK watching A Place in the Sun, there's 2-bedroom apartments with beautiful terraces for under €200,000.
I love that point.
Smoke screen.
The amount of inquiries that we get from people that they just see Spain and they're watching A Place in the Sun and they see, as you say, 2-bedroom, beautiful apartment, roof terrace, sea view. I totally agree with you. It's really important in the early discussion of your conversation with your client, that honest expectation. This is what your budget's going to get you. This is what it's not. That's so important.
You have to be honest, because you can't set that expectation that they're going to find a property like that. They come over, they book their viewing trip, and they're very disappointed. You have to be honest from the start to say, this is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Register with a couple of property sites, see what's coming in for your budget, and they start to realise, okay, I'm not going to get it for that. They start to come to the understanding that this isn't going to happen unless they increase their budget.
And it's important to say that professional real estate agent that's really invested in their trade, it's not about making the sale, it's about protecting the buyer and making sure that they make the right decision for them. This is a very expensive mistake if you get it wrong. We have a client working with us at the moment. They've been in our network for 3 months. They've had 2 viewing trips with us, and they have a very specific property that they want. Now, they've decided to rent first for the next few months. They will buy this year, but they feel that they need more time. We respect that, because if they get that, it's a very expensive exercise, very unhappy exercise, and then I don't think any of us will be happy. That's not what we want. So it's about putting the interests of your buyer at heart, not just the commission check at the end of the transaction. That's important.
I totally agree.
I think as well, things do go wrong in real estate transactions. It's normal. No transaction is a copy and paste of the previous.
No.
I don't think I've ever seen 2 transactions exactly the same, because you're dealing with different people, different circumstances, different expectations. It's impossible to copy and paste. It just doesn't work like that.
Even with my 16 years experience, I'm still learning things from the Spanish real estate market. I say the easiest thing is getting the offer agreed. The hardest thing is starting to navigate what terms.
Absolutely. Like, we could leave here on a Friday and go, what? We're making hairs, and come back on the Monday.
And everything's just fell down.
And it happens, and it's part of the game.
It is just part of the game, but you learn from it and take that experience and you say, okay, this happened this time. I'm going to make sure that I do X, Y, and Z so that doesn't happen the next time.
And we do that on the end of every sale. We do a post-mortem and sit back and go, and I know that's a very nasty word, but essentially that's what it is. We sit down and we look at the sale from end to end. What could we have done different?
Of course.
Even if it was a perfect sale, we can always learn and do things differently and go, okay, we should have preempted this. We should have seen that a little bit better. Yeah. That's super important. We have to be able to pick apart our own performance with a view to improve. Oh, this is something I really want to call out, because I'm seeing this at the moment, and maybe I need a holiday because this is really making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up type stuff. I am seeing something happening at the moment where, even though I love AI and it has massively enhanced our business in terms of automation, it's made it easier for us to keep in contact with our clients, brilliant. However, it has become a pain in the arse of a professional real estate agent when somebody goes onto ChatGPT or Claude and starts typing in their questions about real estate. It is an unregulated market. What ChatGPT is telling you might be relevant in Murcia, but it might not necessarily be relevant in Andalusia. We are dealing with autonomous communities in Spain where regulation and rules are different depending on the postcodes that you live in. And we've had we've actually lost 2 deals this quarter as a result of people getting information on ChatGPT and then losing trust in their legal team, which means that the deals have gone to shit. I want to call that out because I love ChatGPT. I love Claude. AI is brilliant. I love the enhancements that it's bringing into the business. I am now a rock star at admin as a result of AI and ChatGPT. But I do not like the fact that it's allowing everybody to become an expert, because you're not taking into consideration nuances that apply to the areas. So, disclaimer, be careful when you're using ChatGPT, because it doesn't always have your best interests at heart, but a professional real estate agent does.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. ChatGPT is amazing, but you could go down the rabbit hole with it. If you have a good, reputable real estate agent that you've put your trust and confidence in, there's not going to be a problem.
No.
Because it's always going to be there at the end of the phone to answer your questions or put your ease at mind. ChatGPT won't do that.
Yeah, it's great, but we have to always tread with caution with these type of things. And I just really want to put that out there. Look, my final parting comment, and Warner, please chip in on this, is if you're a buyer and you have a dream to own your piece of paradise on the Costa del Sol, you can make that dream a reality, okay, by working with the right team. but you should never feel rushed, okay? If you do, it's time to put the brake on and assess your priorities, because it is a dream and we want to support you to make that dream a reality, but we want to avoid an expensive mistake for you. It's important that we get this right, and the due diligence and the early steps in your process, these are things that you need to take your time with. So you should never feel rushed, and I sincerely mean. Warner, your 2 pence worth on that.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unregulated market, and there is big companies in this market that basically have a lot of sales agents. The idea is if they show you 10 properties, you'll buy one of them. And so it's really important that you choose wisely and make sure that they have your own benefit in mind as well.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope we have helped you to understand and clarify why the Costa del Sol property market is sometimes referred to as the Wild West, be it fairly or unfairly. I'll let you draw your own conclusion. Thank you for stopping by, and ciao for now. Now, if you're buying now, next year, or you're just curious, our free buyer's guide is the best place for you to start. Head to www.wlcostaproperties.net, go to our resources section and download our buyer's guide now. Or message us directly with your questions. We'll give you honest advice, even if you're not ready to buy just yet.
Thank you so much for listening into today's episode on the Costa Property Podcast. Another fantastic episode learning about the highs and lows of relocating to the Costa del Sol from real people who have been through the journey themselves, and of course our wonderful experts. If you have been enjoying the show so far, remember to hit subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating or review.
We absolutely love hearing your thoughts. Please send any questions that you would like us to answer on the show to warner@wlcostaproperties.net, or you can pop us a message on our socials, which are in the show notes. Remember, you can also visit the website www.wlcostaproperties.net.
See you on the next episode, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.